Buzz. So we'll introduce Jen and Miko, and they can share their story with us. I met Jen a couple of years back in Lithuania in a conference for entrepreneurship, and we just really connected and kept in touch. And she was living in Silicon Valley at that moment. Yeah, and so they had their own careers going on, commercial real estate. And Midco was working in engineering. I guess they'll let you tell the story, but they had this big change where they went, decided to leave, sold what they needed to sell, left the Silicon Valley, and went over to Bulgaria to start a new journey with honey.
It started exactly 100 years ago at the wedding of my great grandparents, where they received a hive as a gift, which is has been passed down for 4 generations to me and my cousin now. We counted 15 beekeepers in the family line, so it's been consistently kept as a tradition and legacy. Unfortunately, I developed a bee sting allergy, and it was about to stop with me because my sisters are not interested in farming. But then on our wedding, we received the deed for the family apiary, more of a symbolic gift, like we're getting old now and this is now yours. That was the statement from my parents. They didn't imagine or hope that we'll actually do what we're doing now. And our vision is to share Bulgaria with the world through honey. Just geographically, Bulgaria produces really high quality products that is not fully recognized around the world, and the market doesn't look very good for honey. So the price of not so high quality honey and the high quality honey that we produce here is almost the same, and we saw opportunity in that. And through our brand, to our story, we can make Bulgaria known around the world for its great honey.
A lot of Bulgarian honey is exported and homogenized with other European honeys, and it's just labeled as European honey, and you would never know that it came from Bulgaria. Our apiaries, they're located in very clean surroundings. Like the majority of Bulgaria, other than maybe like 3 cities, are less than 100,000 people, and a lot of villages are like under 5,000, under 1,000 people. The villages that we have our apiaries in, bees only fly somewhere between 2 to 4 kilometers of a radius from their hive, depending on how dense the flowers are in that area. When you register your apiary, the food agency shows you what registered farms are in your area, so you know if there's commercial farming or GMOs in your area. So all of our apiaries are located in very clean surrounding areas where there's no commercial farming.
How is the beekeeping in Bulgaria? We're not a huge producer compared to other countries. Majority of the beekeeping is at small scale. So we have a lot of small producers. Almost everybody in Bulgaria has their guy for honey, like a trusted family or friend, and that's the majority of the market. Unfortunately, with most of those small businesses, people are one, afraid of being registered and like doing all the accounting and all the things that are required from the food safety. And a lot of the people are like older, so like they're very afraid of all that registration stuff. Most of those small businesses are just not regulated, not registered. Most of the honey is sold in recycled jars from like pickles, or and that's like normal. Also, prices are very low. That's where we again see opportunity. Great product deserves great clothing. But we are also helping other businesses and other smaller beekeepers keep up the pace with the regulations and all the requirements, so they can have a legal business.
Things here are just really not transparent compared to the States. And when we're able to figure something out and do it ourselves, we want to share it with other smaller producers or beekeepers or villagers who normally wouldn't have access or the willingness to do that.
Yeah, there are a lot of Euro funds, especially for agriculture and beekeeping. But it's again, even knowing about them, people are scared.
Our labels are really a self-expression of our slogan. Really, it's love, happiness, and planet. Love because This is really an expression of our marriage, of our family, our love for my newfound love for Bulgaria. This is our herbal honey, and we have our story on the side here, and then really big on the back, 100% raw, unfiltered honey, which means the honey is basically collected straight from the hive, and all we add is the jar and the label. It's filtered to get the hard particles out like wax, but not so fine that it removes the pollen. And what happens in most grocery stores, because I notice with Americans especially, we're really obsessed with things, our products looking perfect. Mm-hmm. Like if you look at the apples and that they're waxed and they're like perfectly shaped, you know, a lot of people want to see honey in perfect liquid form because the perception is crystallized honey is gone bad. So when you pasteurize honey, first of all, it heats the honey to where there's no crystals, and then the crystals, they form way later. Here I have a little panel on what's in your jar. So every single honey has a little paragraph about the varietal itself. Like wine, honey is collected from different flower nectars depending on the location and time of year. And then I have a little thing about what you should pair it with. Our vision was to have a shop / museum / event space. And this is our little museum in a jar label. All of our honeys have full traceability. So we get everything lab tested. We get a pollen analysis, which tells you if it's a very high concentration of a certain varietal. Varietals that are very common here include acacia, linden honey, and in Bulgaria, you can find linden honey that's up to 80%, which is like unheard of anywhere else in the world. We actually are working with an apiary who's also a multi-generational beekeeping family, where their apiary is located right next to a linden forest. And then there's honeydew honey from the Stranja Mountains. The EU just protected Stranja because it produces like the best honeydew honeys, which is this black honey here. It's black in color. So this is like, both of these jars right here are 100% raw unfiltered honey, but they look like totally different, right? Because of what flower they're collected from. This is actually not collected from a flower. Honeydew honey is actually collected from the secretions of tree-suckling aphids, and bees confuse this sweet secretion for nectar, and it's like, depending on the source, 9 times more active in like
amino acids, minerals, vitamins.
It's just super nutritious. It's got this like a dark molassesy kind of like how do I describe it actually? It's kind of like overripe fruit. A big part of our company is sharing love, happiness, and planet with everyone. And so we have like, you know, our merchandise, or our message is be yourself, spread love, not fear. And in every order, we actually include a little affirmation sticker. So like, you know, be free, be yourself. Just like, we're still finding ways to like spread positivity and just put a smile on people's faces with our product.
In spring, we start with the spring inspections. So we check how the hive went through the winter, and pretty much like how they're developing, and also doing some preventative actions like what I mentioned about the gut health earlier, feeding them probiotics, or there is a product based on seaweeds. They're usually like 2 to 3 harvests, starting as early as May and going all the way to late summer, like August. After the last harvest, we pretty much start to prep them for the winter, which includes feeding them. It's very important what you feed the bees with. First, we don't take all the honey. The purpose of bees making honey is to store food for winter. If beekeepers are taking too much, then they need to replace that with another food, which is usually sugar. Bees don't process sugar same as humans. They don't process it as well as the honey because the honey has enzymes. The sugar is not the best food for them. They also need proteins, other micronutrients. If needed to feed the bees during harvest season, we only feed them with honey. The purpose why we feed them in autumn is because whatever we give them at that time, they will eat through the winter. There is zero chance that they will store that for past the winter. Going back in spring, then there is no sugar left in the hive. And as Jen mentioned, the lab test is proving that.
Mm-hmm. So right now we're processing a large batch for my cousin. His Apiaries are registered as organic in Bulgaria,
Hmm.
which means that bees are only allowed to be fed honey from their own apiary. So the honey
Throughout the year.
throughout the year, yeah, all the time. So the batch that you will soon be able to buy online, these bees have never seen sugar before.
Unfortunately, we're not labeling that honey as bio or organic because of the all the required paperwork.
Thank you so much, Trevor, for featuring us and letting us share our story.
See you next time. And always remember to be yourself.
Buzz.